Okay, once this software has been installed, you will be able to see this lease accounting icon, which starts the program. So you double click that to start the program. So in this overview, I will be just walking through the various functionalities of the software so that you can get a feel as to how the software, what's in the software and how it comes together. So the first thing you're going to need to do is to log on. Then you can open the database where you have your leases saved. Now if you are doing this for the first time, you will not have that set up, so you just go to open and you will notice that in your My Documents folder under lease accounting data, you'll be able to see the dummy data or the example file with some demo leases in there. So in order to create your own company leases, all you need to do is to copy that file. It's Control C and Control V to paste it, and I would recommend you give it an appropriate name, like a company name. For in this case, I'm just going to call it XYZ Company. And it's always good to give it a year so that you know which year's data is in that software. So each year I would recommend you just copy that file and give it the next year so that you have the prior year backup file, and I would recommend that that file is saved in a safe location, so if you need to go back to the prior year data. Even the current year's data, I would recommend a copy is saved on maybe a server or a different drive, just in case something were to happen to your machine that and you do not want to lose your data. So once a file has been created, you can get into the file, and as soon as you get into the file, you'll have access to the other options. So basically, in the setting up of the lease groups, you can set up the groups that you wish to classify your leases into. So there's 3 groups in this particular lease database, so you can go ahead and just add more leases, and you can delete the leases if you do not have that category. The system will not allow you to delete a lease category or a class if you have used it to classify one of the leases, and if there is a lease that exists in that class, it will not allow you to delete the class. Then here is where you actually do most of the work in terms of creating your leases. So I'm just going to cycle through one of the leases. So here, this is where you would filter to find your lease. You can also select your lease through here. As you can see, there's some demo data that is in here of a number of leases. So you could actually cycle through your leases and see the information that's in there. Now, so in here you'd have your basic lease information, including a note. The note is generally good to use to sort of use some reference as to where maybe your lease agreement is saved, so that if you need to support your lease data which you have gathered, you'll know where to go to look for your lease agreement, for example, or any other note that you want to put in there to help you to identify or to the data identify the source from where the data has come from. Here is where you would create your lease entry in terms of the first entry is basically you creating the lease. Any subsequent entry you make here is a lease modification and would be on a subsequent period of the lease. Now here also you would specify whether you're doing your leases on an annual basis, whether the installments are falling annually, and also whether it's paid in advance or in arrears by making this selection here. Here is where you would do your indirect cost, or if there's a lease incentive, initial lease incentive that you're receiving, or even to do an impairment of an asset or a lease after it has been initially recognized. This is the area where you would actually enter your lease installments, and you would have you can populate it quickly using the populate functionality in the software, so that you don't need to enter each item individually, making it quick to create your leases as you need, or even modify your leases. Based on each entry, you'd make here, the lease is calculated over here. That is the lease liability, and also the right of use assets, showing you the depreciation charge. And for that particular lease entry, it will also give you the adjustments that you need to make to your accounting system, so that it reflects the creation of the lease or the modification of the lease. You would use the schedule to recognize your interest and your capital repayment, and here you'd use the depreciation to recognize your depreciation. So that's it from a point of creating a lease. It's pretty straightforward. I will be running through this in the next video, how to create the lease, and also a number of lease modifications in the following videos that I will be putting up. Then after creating a lease, you'll have, of course, your running of the report, how to run a report. Again, this will be covered in the last video, where I will show you just the running of a number of reports, which is automatically run as a group. So you have all the reports you need, including the year-end balances and the individual lease schedules of all of your leases which you create. And here is just a calculator for you to calculate your lease based on what period you want. So basically, if it's an annual lease and it's 5%, it will show you what the incremental borrowing rate. So if you have an incremental borrowing rate of 5%, it'll just show you the incremental borrowing rates based on month, quarter, and if it's an annual. So that's it basically from how you would run the system. The only other option which I put way down here is to delete everything in order to start afresh. Now, as this is a new company and I want to use it for myself, now as we've seen in here, there were a number of leases. So if you want to clear all of that and start one for your company, all you need to do is to hit the delete all function. You would get 2 warnings, because once deleted you cannot get that information back. So you'd say yes to that, and it gives you a second warning asking you, are you sure, again, and when you say yes, it would clear all of the data. So if I were to go back here into the leases, and there is nothing left, so then this is now ready for you to do your own leases and to start it up for your company. All right, that is basically a quick overview, and I will be covering in the next video an initial setup and some basic modifications of leases before moving on to the next video, which will be a bit more involved lease modifications. Again, very simple to do with the system. And finally, the final video will cover the report generation and a walkthrough of what's in each of the reports, so that you can get an understanding of what you can do with the software and how it will help you when it comes to accounting for leases as a lessee.